YouTube, what is going on? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. Folks, if you know me, you know that I am extremely excited to do this video today. It's been a video that's been in my back pocket for a very long time. I've been wanting to make this for a very long time. We are talking about the top Rogue key comics to invest in before her MCU debut because I do believe it is inevitable. Folks, before we get into the video, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Take some time to check out all the links in the description below as well, including a link to today's sponsor, popculturezone.com. This is how these videos work, folks. I'm looking at the top 5 books featuring Rogue. As we get lower on the list, these books are going to have a higher ROI, return on investment, over the last 3 years. All of these books have been hot, and personally, I do think they are going to have a lot of eyeballs on them if we get a Rogue announcement. Before we get into the books, though, if you want to save some money on some comic book supplies, please check out bcwsupplies.com. You can use the code JOURNOS to receive 10% off of your order. This code never expires, folks. So you can use it as many times as you want. I definitely stand by BCW products. I use their products for most of my stuff, but not all. That link is in the description below as well. But are we ready, folks? Let's get in to book number 5. All right, we got Uncanny X-Men number 171. This is where Rogue joins the X-Men. So, look, all things Rogue, you look at what are the most important events, first appearances, and things like that. Rogue joining the X-Men is pretty important, especially if you know her history being, a villain. But let's look at these numbers. Current CGC, 9.6 fair market value, sitting at about $110 next to 3 years ago where it was sitting at $75. Now, as I always say, fair market values are always a rolling rough average, folks. Don't ever take them with a grain of salt or say, this is exactly how much I need to pay for these books. It's a rolling average, and fair market values can change day to day, week to week, month to month, but it's a good gauge to look at what they're doing currently. That right there, though, that increase from 75 to the 110, that's a 3-year increase of 47%. Average raw, though, $12. Now, what do I mean by average raw? You take in all the raw comic books that sold for this issue, no matter the grade, you add all those dollar amounts up, you divide it by the units sold, that's how you get your average raw. So I always say take this with a grain of salt as well, but it gives you a good idea that you could probably find some grade somewhere in the middle for around that $12 mark. This is a 60 cents Bronze Age book, so you're probably looking at a nice mid-grade for around $12, and again, that's just an estimate. So a very affordable book, and I always encourage folks, because this is just how I collect, go after raws, unless you find a really, really awesome deal on a slab book, especially when you get into that 9.8 range, though. I'll probably talk about that a little later in the video. There is a lot of value to be had in raw books, especially with this one. I mean, average raw for $12. I have this book in my collection. If I found any of these in a nice grade for $12 or under, I might be willing to pick up 1 or 2 more copies. Who knows? But I want to remind everyone before we go to book number 4 that I'm not here to tell you guys to buy anything. I'm not here to tell you not to buy. I'm here to provide you with facts, data, and my personal opinion. I want all of you to be smart collectors and make smart investment or purchasing and collecting decisions. If you don't have love for the character, maybe it's not for you. If you're not willing to take an investment or a speculation risk, maybe it's not for you. All right, let's move on to book number 4. All right, so a little Rogue controversy here. This is Uncanny X-Men number 158. Now, this is probably going to give you an idea of another book that might be on this list. This is the second appearance of Rogue and first cover appearance of Rogue, or is it? Because this book ties both of those things with ROM 31. Second appearance and first cover tie with ROM 31. And those books, they didn't just come out the same month, they came out on the exact same day. So take it as you will. One thing that I look for is continuity. Like, well, which story took place first? And it's easy to argue that this one here, 158, the storyline took place before ROM 31. If you guys read the stories, you would see why I'm saying that. But let's just look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value sitting at about $215. But that last sale was in February of 2021. So I do believe that is an outdated price. I do believe if a 9.8 went on the market today, it would sell for more than that. And again, that's just my humble opinion. But of course, before I even have an opinion, I like to, do my research and have a very valid hypothesis, if you so to say, right? Now in 2019, it was hitting at around 120. So that would be a 2-year increase technically of 79%, which is still solid. Average raw for this book, $35. So again, you got a 60-cent Bronze Age book. Hopefully you can find a decent, maybe higher mid-grade a copy, maybe around a fine copy for that $35 mark. But again, I mean, you look at second appearance as well as a first cover, that's pretty big. All right, guys, we're going to move on to book number 3. Oh, look at that. Big surprise, right? ROM 31. But we're going to look at some numbers from 158 and 131 in a minute. But again, second appearance of Rogue, first cover appearance, or is it because it just ties with the book that we just talked about? Now, look at this. We're going to compare these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value. Now, this was a more recent sale. It was still a couple months back, I do believe. $260, or it was an accumulation of a couple sales a couple months back, but there weren't too many of these sales on the market. I think people are just recently getting hip to this book. In 2019, there was one that sold for $80. That's a 3-year increase of 225% with an average raw of $8. So let's look at these two books. This book right here, right? I'm going to guess. Now, the 2019 value was higher than the 2019 value of ROM 31. And I bet if a 9.8 sold today, it would sell for more than that 260 right here for the ROM 31. The average raw is decently higher as well. But look at this. This book has increased 79%, while this book is roughly increased by 225%. So there could be a lot more upside with this book simply because I don't think a lot of people had their eyes on this book. So there could be more value to be had there in this book, at least for the short term, because you might be able to find this book for a decent amount cheaper out in the wild than your Uncanny 158, because that's already the one that is known and seen as the second appearance. But look, don't sleep on this Moon Knight, or excuse me, on this ROM Space Knight. I just finished watching Moon Knight episode 6, so it's on the brain. But, again, I think both of these books, when you look long term, I think they can both hold decent value and be competitive with each other. But I think it's going to boil down to the fact that Uncanny X-Men is the more popular title. And when you look at covers, I think this is more of a awesome cover when it comes to Rose. I mean, she's right there handing it to Wolverine. Whereas here, she's kind of, you get that side silhouette angle, and you don't really see her full body. Still think it's a really great looking cover, but I think long term 158 might still bring in a little bit of a higher value, but I think ROM 31 definitely has a lot of growth as well. All right, let's go to book number 2, folks. Avengers Annual number 10. Of course, we have to have the first appearance of Rogue, and you're wondering, like, this book isn't number 1. Well, number 1 is a really interesting one. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value sitting at about $1,450. Whew, man. 3 years ago, 383. That is a 279% increase in value. And again, this is my humble opinion. I don't think this book is slowing down. Yeah, people say, oh, it's a horrible cover. I mean, I don't think it's horrible. And, it's argued that that is Rogue right there, at least in a shadowed silhouette there. But look, when Rogue is announced, or we get a trailer, or we see her for the first time, whatever the first little taste of Rogue being in the MCU, I do believe this book is going to double overnight. I believe every book on this list potentially is going to double overnight. Again, that's my personal opinion, and I'm not saying that for you guys to go rush out and get the FOMO and go buy these. I'm not saying that. I honestly believe that from the bottom of my heart. I believe it from the point of a business investor perspective. As somebody who is educated in this, has multiple degrees in it, and I'm just saying that to try to back up how I look at these numbers and gauge my hypotheses. So to say, and if you look at how the spec market, I mean, just look at what happened with El Muerto, his first appearance in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #6, a character that nobody knew or cared about. It was a dollar bin, $2 book, and now it's selling for 150 plus dollars. It's absolutely nuts. Now that won't hold, in my humble opinion. I do think this will, of course, with normal market ebb and flow. But look, I, I highly think Rogue is going to be that character if they do her story right, which they have the opportunity now, being under Marvel Studios, being able to get that origin going with Carol Danvers. I absolutely think these books are going to make wave. Did I talk about the average raw though? Let's talk about it. $83. So again, this book has been on the uptick. Just be careful, folks. If you are in the market for any of these books, but especially this one, since it's a higher price tag, do your due diligence. Have patience. Don't be afraid to barter with sellers. And just know that you did all that you could and you're making the right decision. Make sure you get something in your budget too. And again, like I said, you don't need to go after the 9.8s all the time. I mean, go after a high grade raw, or save some money if you still want a high grade and go after a 9.4 or 9.6. There's different options just depending on why you want to buy the book in the first place. All right, everyone, we have one more book on the list, but before we get into book number one, I got to take less than 60 seconds to thank and talk about today's sponsor, PopCultureZone.com.
PopCultureZone.com is an online shop focusing on hot new comics, including exclusive and incentive variants, CGC graded comics, and tons of other inventory, including pop culture toys and other collectibles, all at low and competitive prices. PopCultureZone.com ships all over the US, and if you are buying raw comics, they offer flat rate shipping of only $4.99. That's right, $4.99. Absolute craziness, right? And there's no taxes included, excluding New Jersey. Pop Culture Zone is also on eBay, where they hold a 100% positive feedback rating with over 8,000 completed transactions for this year alone. Make sure to check out the link to their website below, as well as their eBay link, so be sure to give them a follow there as well.
All right, everyone, here we go. What could be book number one? Top 5 Rogue keys to invest in before her MCU debut. It is Marvel Superheroes number 11, The Untold Origin of Rogue. Okay, you may be asking, Chris, why do you have this book in the number one spot, especially if you see the return on investment, if you see the increase in value? Not available. So essentially, I don't even know if this book has increased more than 279%, like her first appearance. But let me explain why I have this book number one. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $250. And there was just one sale over the last, I think it's been a year. And this was about a little over a month ago that this book sold for $250. No other 9.8s that I found on the census. Average raw going for $42. And if you look on eBay, those raw books that are selling are definitely more mid-grade, high mid-grades, at least the recent ones. But if you look at the buy it nows, if you go on eBay and you look at the buy it nows, if you go on my comic shop and look at the buy it nows, and I'm not saying the buy it nows, you never gauge fair market value for a buy it now price unless it's selling, right? If it's unsold, hey, doesn't mean anyone's going to pay that. But the buy it now prices are already more than the numbers that you're seeing here or that I was seeing in the last few months. And although maybe not a lot of people are biting right now, more and more people are paying more for when these books get into auction. And here's the thing, this book really is scarce on the market. Now, I can't speak to its print run, but from the research I've done, it did have a low print run, whatever that means. But scarcity on the market isn't just about print run. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to say it again. There's two ideas of scarcity. One is the fact that something is scarce because it's low in existence, right? It's very finite in existence, and you can use natural resources that could be depleted, is an example. But then when you talk about market and market values, something can be scarce on the market because if there's already a low print run and everyone's hoarding their copies and there's not very much out there for sale, it's scarce on the market. I mean, you could look at even natural resources or any commodity. If somebody is hoarding the natural resources, like we could get into more the political side of things and say that these big multi-billion conglomerates are hoarding resources or whatever, and that's why they can charge so much for these necessities because they allow it to be scarce on the market. That could be what's happening with this Marvel Superheroes 11. I think the people that actually get their hands on these books are holding them, and they're holding them with a death grip, and they're not letting them go. I know that I finally got my hands on one copy, and I am not letting it go because what I did to get that book, all right, it took a lot of patience, let me just say. I do think that this book is been overlooked and undervalued. And you guys that watch my channel, you know that I don't use the term undervalued a lot. I really do. I look for this book to do big things, big things. If we actually see Rogue show up and get her powers like what happened in the comic books. If Rogue shows up, battles Carol Danvers, and gets Carol Danvers' powers, I think this book has the ability to triple or even quadruple almost overnight. And again, my humble opinion, guys, if it happens and that doesn't happen with this book, feel free, come back to my channel, hit me up, say, Chris, you were wrong. Maybe it only doubled. I don't know. That is my opinion, just because of how scarce it is on the market. So that is my list today, folks. 5 Rogue books. I think there is a lot of upside, but like I said, I'm not here to tell you to buy any of these. Be very careful, stick within your budget, collect with the passion that you have. Know your passion, know your love for why you want to collect, and just be smart about your purchasing decisions, folks. All right? So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. If you think there are any other Rogue keys out there that could have made this list, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below as well. But we're not done, because before we go, I do want to thank all of my Patreon members and my YouTube channel members. And first, to my Patreon members for supporting me month after month. Thank you guys so, so much. Trev, the shipping guru, John Rowe, Nexus Cowboy, Verified, Kyle, Justin, Kenwick, Jordan, X11 Bravo, Shelby, Rich, Tony T, Larry, Michael, Alvin, Fletch Comics, Pedro, Peter T, Joe G, Larissa, Sagi, Dan, and Simon. You guys are absolutely awesome, and you do so much to help support me in the channel. If you guys are interested in becoming a Patreon member, it's only $3.99 a month. That link is below. And of course, I can't forget all of my YouTube members. If you guys are interested in joining there, click that join button below. That's only $1.99 a month. Congrats to Mikey H for winning my last member-only giveaway, which was the Battlestar Galactica #1. Thank you guys so much. Again, if you aren't subscribed, please do so. Be well, and until next time.